and that's quite all right. I am going to officially start the meeting here. It is 7:01, and let's see, why did that come up? Who could, oh, here we go. All right. So welcome, everyone. I am really excited to see so many faces, and I hope everybody had a happy new year. And I love that we have all this new energy. A lot of people have been contacting me, and that's about the neighborhood and how to improve it and how to volunteer. And it's just been really wonderful, like a rebirth. And I don't know if it's recent tragedies in Southern California or whatever it is. I am very grateful because the more people who are involved, little or big, the better we can serve the whole community. Just a couple housekeeping things that I always go over. Board meetings are on most months on the second Thursday of the month, but that's subject to change. Like this month, we needed to change it, but usually it's on the second Thursday of every month. We encourage neighborhood participation, 2 minutes each, and please raise your hand or write in the chat if you'd like to speak, have a comment or whatever. So now the acting secretary, who is Roger Gray, will be taking roll call. Do you need to do it that out loud, or how do you want to do this, Roger?
I think we've got everybody but Meg. I don't see Meg, but yeah, I'll just read them off. And obviously you, Frederick, John, Chuck, Lisa, Jenny, Carrie, myself, Nancy, not Meg, and Rob is here. And then every other position's open. Therefore, we have a quorum. Don't see Meg, right? Is that correct?
Meg is traveling. She may not be able to. Or Chris, do you know that she definitely won't be able to? You're silent.
Sorry, I don't know that she won't be able to join us, but she is out of town.
Okay. So anyways, we have a quorum, so thank you for that, Roger.
Yeah, then we'll do the minutes from the last meeting, and I was trying to find it online. It was November something. I can't remember. But anyway, the November meeting, we need a motion to approve the minutes.
Carrie makes a motion to approve the minutes from November.
All right, motion from Carrie. We have a second.
I second the motion to approve the minutes.
Was that Nancy, I think?
Yeah.
Thanks, Nancy. Any discussion or changes to the minutes? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. Any opposed? All right. The motion was passed unanimously. And so I think that it's back to you, Frederick.
Thank you, Roger. Our first guest speaker is Mary Kay Larson, Executive Director of Communications for the Lake Oswego School District. And also Tony Vanderberg, Executive Director of Project Management for the LO School District. And I'm not sure if she's going to speak, but Jennifer Shealy, School Superintendent, is here as well. Turning it over to you guys.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you for having us. I'm gonna, before Jen gets started, I'm gonna make sure I can share our slides here. Let's see. I saw it earlier. Let me make sure I can get access to it. Let's see what's happening here. Will it do it? Can you see the slides?
We can.
Okay, perfect. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Shealy.
Thank you, Mary Kay, and thank you so much for having us here today. I've been in the district 22 years and have served at Lake Ridge Middle School and Lake Ridge High School for most of my tenure. So if your kids went there, I may have been their principal or their assistant principal. So it's awesome to see you all again. And it's really a privilege to connect with community and share exciting progress that we've had in our schools. And I know sometimes if your kids aren't in school at this time, sometimes you feel a little disconnected to it. So we like to come into these kind of meetings and make sure everyone in our community is informed and has all the information we have. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mary Kay and Tony to share some details about our bond. But before I do that, I just want to also say thank you so much for being voters and being LOSD voters and helping us build our future. And your support has been instrumental in transforming our schools and shaping the future where our students, all of our students in Lake Oswego and our community can thrive. So while we've accomplished so much, there is still work to do. And if you remember, about a decade ago, we embarked on this ambitious 3-phased plan to create resilient schools that inspire students and foster innovation and strengthen community connections. And our first phase is nearly complete, with the stunning Lake Ridge Middle School being done as our centerpiece. And we really only have the pool left in that part, and that we have a small part in that. And phase 2 has reached major milestones with opening of River Grove this year. And if you haven't seen that, it's a beautiful building. And construction is well underway for our Lake Oswego Middle School. If you drive on Country Club at all, you're probably seeing that start to form. And then phase 3 is in planning. And that's right now what we're focusing on, securing the future of our last 2 elementary schools and any other capital improvements that we need to finish. So your investment is building sustainable and welcoming schools that create a lasting legacy for many, many generations to come. So I just want to really make sure you understand that we really appreciate all of your support. And then I'm going to turn over to Mary Kay and Tony so they can share the details about our progress in our slideshow.
Thank you, Jen. So I'm going to build off of what Dr. Shealy just said about our community support. Our community is with us every step of our bond process, and it's kind of a cycle. It starts with a long-range planning committee, which is made up of parents and residents in our district and in our neighborhoods. Their work then guides the work of the bond development committee, who takes in voter polling, voter sentiment, looks at the long-range plan, and makes a recommendation to our school board. And our school board, our elected officials, are every step of the way in not only guiding what we plan to do, but also, once voters have approved it, holding us accountable and making sure we're doing what we said we would do. And then all of this is guided by our excellent fiscal management, which has led to premiums and interest. So making the most of the funds that our voters have authorized. And also something, well, not new anymore. We established this position a decade ago when we embarked on the 3-phase approach, but it wasn't with us before in previous bond programs, and that is having somebody of Tony's caliber, an executive director of project management, making sure that everything is working on time and on budget. And we're really proud to say that despite all the things thrown our way, whether it be supply chain issues or pandemics and all the things in between, Tony has been able to get our projects done on time and on budget. And you're going to hear from Tony in just a minute. I also do want to say that I am a Palisades neighbor. I live in the Sunny Hill neighborhood, and I have been here. Well, I've lived in this house for 10 years, and then before that, I was closer to Helen Ann. But I love being a Palisades neighbor. So I also want to just touch a little bit more on the 3 phases and in relation to taxes. The first phase, which our voters approved in 2017, that was approved by 59% of voters, and that authorized $187 million for us to fund not only Lake Ridge Middle, but a lot of other projects, which Tony will go into. That was a tax increase of $1.14 per thousand of assessed value, which is different than market value. It's actually less. Assessed value tends to be less than market value. But that was a huge jump for and leap of faith from our community, but that's gone really well. Then in phase 2, as planned, our voters approved our bond in 2021, And we actually did that one during the pandemic. All of our meetings were on Zoom. Tony and I, we went and met with neighborhoods, all on Zoom. We did our committee work on Zoom, and it wasn't until just, I think we were able to get kids back in school that September, and then that November is when our voters approved this bond, and work's underway on that. That was also a slight increase. The passage of that authorized 180 million, and also with it included a $4 million awesome grant, which is the Oregon Schools Capital Improvement Matching Grant from the state. And you only get that if voters approve your bond. So excellent addition to the work there. And now we are looking at phase 3. Work is underway for that. We are targeting a November 2025 election. So not this May, but November. And until it's finalized, we won't know the exact number, but it is looking like we are able to go out with a measure asking voters to authorize 235 million, and that will maintain our tax rate. So that will be a renewal, not a tax increase this time around. So, and the reason why we're able to do that is that if you recall, if you've been in Lake Oswego for a while, in 2000, our voters authorized a bond, and that rebuilt Lake Oswego High School, and that made significant improvements and additions to Lake Ridge High School. And that bond that's been 25 years, believe it or not, and that bond expires. So the bond that we would be asking voters to pass this November would replace that bond as that expires. So I'm going to turn it over to Tony to talk a little bit more about what we've done with our voters' trust and investments.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Thank you for having us, everyone. So Mary Kay mentioned phase 1. So phase 1 is nearly complete. That was the bond program that was passed in 2017, which really the flagship project for that program was the Lake Ridge Middle School project. You probably have all driven by the new Lake Ridge Middle School, which has been complete now for a few years and up and operating, and very, very much admired by our community. The other things that the bond did, when I arrived here, I took a look at the buildings and noticed that there was a lot of things that needed to happen. The buildings hadn't been touched for quite some time. So we had a lot of really aging infrastructure, mechanical equipment. We had roofs that were aging, starting to leak, poorly insulated buildings, lack of technology infrastructure, and so on and so forth. So this first bond really did kind of stop the hemorrhaging, as I like to say it. We fixed a lot of roofs. We replaced almost every roof in the district now with a roof that will last 30 or more years. We've added innovation spaces to our elementary schools and our middle schools. So innovation labs, so you get a lot of this hands-on learning. We've enhanced safety and security. So we've installed secure vestibules, changed door hardware, added security cameras, and new fire alarm systems in some cases, as well as security systems. Right now, we are in the process of completing the new Lake Oswego Recreation Center located on Stafford Road. I'm sure all of you have experienced that, or maybe some of the delays in traffic, which I can kind of apologize for. But the project is well underway. It's the last project that remains in the 2017 program with our partnership with the City of Lake Oswego Parks. So we look forward to that being open. I was at the pool today. There is water in the pool at this time, so that's kind of cool to see. Looking forward to that opening in the spring. One thing that I failed to mention here is some of the STEM and CTE enhancements at our high schools. So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, we've created new spaces in our high schools to support these programs, hands-on learning, really in detail learning for these types of programs. Culinary arts, farm to school, are a couple that I can name, as well as innovation at our high schools. The next phase, which was passed in 2021, Mary Kay mentioned, rebuilt River Grove. Right out of the gate with that project, we started as soon as we could. River Grove opened up this year for the first time to invite students into the new space. It's a beautiful school, highly sustainable, very energy efficient, dynamic learning environments, and just very well thought out. Beautiful design. If you haven't been there, please feel free to reach out and we can arrange for a tour. Palisades World Language School, which is here in the Palisades Neighborhood Association off of Green Tree behind the high school, is our world language school, which hadn't been touched for quite some time. We've completely refurbished this school, brought seismic updates to the school, new technology infrastructure, a brand new heating plant, improved insulation. Inside, we've done architectural updates. We've increased accessibility to the playground, added a garden. So we really made this school a home for school again. Across the district, we're adding accessible playgrounds and enhancements to our existing playgrounds at all of our elementary schools, as well as adding learning gardens, small greenhouses at our middle schools. Upgrading our classrooms right now at the high school. So we've done one phase of upgrading our science classrooms, brand new state-of-the-art equipment, lab spaces, really, really nicely done new science labs. Also, ongoing and continuing safety and security infrastructure improvements are well underway and continue as we proceed into this program. In phase 3, we are looking at rebuilding 2 schools, Forest Hills and Lake Grove, both our oldest schools and our schools with probably the lowest score on the facilities assessment. So meaning they're not in the best of shape. We need to replace a lot of the aged systems. The buildings are beyond repair at this point, so it's time to replace those 2 buildings. Across the district, we continue our efforts with the ongoing list of deferred maintenance and repairs that are necessary across the district, the never-ending list that continues to grow. And we continue to look at other projects that are necessary for our learners here in the district. Some of the highlights for our first bond program, of course, Lake Ridge Middle School, which is a highly awarded school, beautiful learning environment, very resilient. You can see some of the images of the new school on the screen. And of course, here in the neighborhood, Lake Ridge High School, some of the repairs that were done, you can see an outdoor learning classroom on the right-hand side of the screen. Down below, you see our greenhouse, which is a large, beautiful, big space where kids can learn about farming, plant biology. On the left, you can see our brand new culinary arts program, which is very different than probably what we experienced in school. And this is very much like a commercial kitchen. So kids get a really hands-on feel for what it's like to be in a real restaurant type setting for culinary arts. And of course, Hallinan also very close by. Our innovation lab, you can see down below, is a big, beautiful space for hands-on learning. We have big work tables. They have robots. I walked into this facility weeks after we opened it, and there were kids that were in 4th grade that were coding computers. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I can't do that, building little robots. Of course, we rehabilitated the entrance. We reskinned the entire building and put a brand new heating plant in, highly efficient heating equipment. And we changed the library around, made it more dynamic, movable bookshelves and learning spaces within the library.
Tony, I think there's a question in the chat, but maybe we'll go to the last slide and then we can answer that.
Sure.
I think it's our last.
Westridge, which is a kind of a sister school of Hallinan, received very much similar improvements. New accessible playground equipment, new equipment just in general, an innovation lab, some little nook spaces within our library, brand new library, new furniture in areas, and a brand new entrance, and of course, a new roof at both of those buildings.
Oh, and where you are.
And finally, Palisades World Language School, where I am right now. We worked on this project in 2 phases. We brought a brand new garden with garden boxes, new playground equipment, new heating plant for this building. We also brought cooling, which we're going to see in our other elementary schools starting this summer. We've got another project happening. New classroom furniture and a brand new kitchen. Of course, interior upgrades, new floors. The building has really turned out well, and it feels like a home here.
Great. I'm just going to go back to this and then we'll open it up for questions. We mentioned phase 3 is in progress and planning, and this is our timeline. Our long range facility planning committee met all last spring, and the board approved their update this fall in October. And now we are in the bond development committee phase. And they are on track, and we anticipate them bringing forward to the board in late March, early April, their recommendation of what the phase 3 bond package, the details and should be. So just giving people a sense of where we are in that time frame. So we are on track for a November 2025 election. So with that, we just want to end with saying thank you for supporting our schools, and then open it up for questions. I'll stop sharing so we can see each other.
Thank you, everyone. I see a question regarding, are both Lake Ridge High School and Lake Ridge Junior High rated for temporary housing during a significant disaster? Yes, they are. Both of the schools have been upgraded significantly. The new Lake Ridge Middle School, of course, was built to a completely different standard than all of our existing schools, in that it is seismic level 4+. It acts as a place of refuge during a major seismic event or fires, which may be on top of mind at the moment. Also, Lake Ridge High School has had significant seismic upgrades. It is also available for housing during a significant event. We have ongoing contracts with the Red Cross that would allow the Red Cross to come in and utilize our spaces during a major event, as well as agreements and ongoing conversations with the city of Lake Oswego and our first responders.
Thank you. I see Christopher P has a question, and then Rob Heap.
Yeah, hi, thanks for the
Nancy?
presentation. I understand that this bond in November will be replacing the one that's matured, but can you tell us what that assessed value, dollar per thousand assessed value will be?
This next phase will be a renewal, so there will be no change to the current taxes that are taken for schools.
Right, but if
Is that the point
there's still a
8.3 that,
cost, there's
there
still a
0.8
cost.
yeah,
Right.
It's not a new cost or an additional cost, but there is a cost. I was just wondering what that assessed value is, what that dollar per thousand assessed value is,
Right. So it would remain the same as it is now,
which is,
I believe. That is just under $2 per thousand.
okay. It's probably on my tax bill, huh? I should
yeah.
probably,
I
It
thought
would
said,
be. And if you do have questions about the tax bill, we have a very smart business department that can help decipher some of the taxing information.
sorry to put you on the spot, Tony.
Quite all right, Chris.
Thanks.
Rob Heap.
Yeah. Question is, how does the bond play into, or how is it like appropriated? Does it go towards anything with helping like the PERS pension commitments? And does it help retain staff, or is it really directed towards facilities?
It's really directed towards facilities. It's capital improvement. So My salary comes from the bond because I'm focused 100% on the bond program as well as my staff that is here. What we do, however, is we work to create spaces that are more efficient for our staff to work in. So there is some help there, but it does not fund PERS or anything like that. It is strictly for our buildings.
Mhm. Yeah, legally, bonds can only pay for buildings and the work and made significant capital improvements.
Thank you. Nancy Sage?
Hi, I have I've been in Lake Oswego since '93, and I've noticed a pattern, this is my perception, that there's been deferred maintenance at many or most of the schools for most of that. So now we're rebuilding new buildings. What plans do we have in place so that we no longer defer the maintenance and we won't be looking for new dollars to take care of that?
It's a great question, Nancy, and some of our projects will require additional funding. We've been trying to get to a place where it's manageable. When I arrived here, we had more than $500 million worth of deferred maintenance based on what we were showing in our facility condition assessments. We've done a great job of chipping away at it. This is a list that will always grow. Some of the projects are just too big, but what we do try to do is look at life cycle and how long these materials will last. Building in new and robust structures will help our facilities continue for a very, very long time. So we build well and we look at materials that will last a very long time. And then maintaining those materials as we go. Our staff is trained on all of the new facility infrastructure that goes in place with the new building. They know how to maintain those new pieces of equipment, and they last that much longer.
So there is a structure and regimen in place to stay on top of that, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes, we certainly try to. We often, when we look at bond programs, there's often emerging programs that result in a need for additional capital expense to renovate a space or build a new space, new square footage, perhaps. Or there's something that is just too big to handle with our general fund budgeting that is set aside.
Thank you.
I just have a quick question. I was looking at the timing of your bonds in going back into the past in 2017, that phase one, was that also a November election? Have they all been November elections that you've had?
No, the first one was in a May election.
Okay, cool.
And then the second one was a November election.
And you're anticipating the third phase to also be November?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
We just needed a little bit more runway with this one. So that's why we went, instead of May, we're going in November.
There is a comment here from Ken Allen. Did you see this, Anthony?
Yes,
where-
yes. Thank you, Ken, for the question. At this time, we've consulted with leadership as well as our school board about possible development or partnership with the lower field at Lake Ridge. And at this time, we're not going to be pursuing that as an option to ease some of the parking issue. We have been working closely with the neighborhood association, especially some of the neighbors directly around the high school with regards to parking. We have seen some improvements certainly this year, and we hope to keep the conversations going and look for additional ways to mitigate some of the traffic concerns. Thank you for that question.
Appreciate that.
Does anybody have any other questions from anybody from the school board? Jenny?
I just had a quick comment and a question. Mary Kay, your FAQ you put together about the current situation with financing was really helpful. And that would address many Roberts or the community's questions. When I heard the question about can bonds be used for PERS or for salaries? I just saw your FAQ, bonds, buildings. So I remember that there. So I think, I don't know if that can be shared out, but you sent it out last week. And I think that would be helpful for people to see and understand.
I can share it with Frederic, and I don't know if you have a follow-up to the meetings. Maybe you can send that out with it.
We can put it
Absolutely.
in our newsletter. I think that would be helpful for the community.
Yes, and if you have, if you have it posted on your website or anywhere, we don't have to recreate it. We can.
No,
link
I can
it.
send you a link to it. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, I just had a question, it just, to me, when a bond's pass, with the 54% or was like 52, that seems like just kind of barely. Is there anything that we can do as a community to help more people vote for the bonds to see the value of it? Like, what should we be talking about to help see the value of education so all our kids get a fair chance at learning and growing?
So Jenny, it's funny you say that because I used to think the same thing, and then I think the 54% this last election in November was the highest of because for an off-year election. So it's actually a pretty high one, but I love the spirit of your question. And I think that, well, one, we want to make sure our community understands why we need a bond and why our schools, while we've done this amazing work, there's still work to be done. We talk about the need, we look at Forest Hills and Lake Grove. Those schools were built in 1947 and 1949. They're the same age as the elementary school in Portland that didn't make it through the last ice storm, and they've had to displace those students. And so we want to make sure that we are able to rebuild those two schools in a timely manner so that we can make sure that they can withstand those kind of events. So this isn't, we love to show the bells and whistles and what we do with it, but at the end of the day, it's really about keeping our schools open and making sure our students can continue in their education. So it's a real need. So helping us spread that word on why we need this bond.
Mary Kay and Jenny, if either or both of you want to write a blurb or a post, we will put it on our website. And of course, images are helpful as well. But yeah, getting the messaging out, and we have a readership of about 880. So it's not, it's worth putting out there.
And I think including the cost to homeowners would be important to include there.
For sure.
Roger looked at his bill and it's still not clear.
No, and I think Tony and I don't want to misspeak. I know we have that information, and I'll make sure we get that out as well. We have that in some other slides. Jenny, I have your email. I can connect with you on something to write.
Yeah. And then the last little thing is, I know here in Palisades, the parking has been like every meeting I've been on this board has been about parking near the high school. So if we can solve that, I think you might have some more voters. I just have to tell you that is a really like a sore issue with a lot of the people in the neighborhood association, with the trash around Lake Ridge High School, the fast driving. My kids go to the Palisades World Language School. We have been like nearly run over a couple of times from high schoolers not stopping, like at the stop sign there. Like I teach my kids eye contact now, like don't go. So I don't know, there's a lot of frustration with our neighborhood association trying to work with Lake Ridge High School to resolve that. So I just want to bring that up to see, we can't solve it tonight, but I want you to know that our neighbors are a little frustrated with that issue.
Yeah, understood, Jenny. And, I've met with our direct neighbors, a half dozen times in the last 12 months, probably at least. And we've had some good conversations. I've had really great conversations with our administration at the high school. We have seen some improvement. We're engaged in conversations with the city of Lake Oswego to bring some additional signage, some no parking areas, and take a big, broader look at this entire area as far as parking goes to see what we can do and how we can work together. So we continue to have those conversations, and we hope that we can continue to see some more enhancements come along.
Thank you.
Safety in our neighborhood is very important. And neighbors who are on this call, Robert and David and anybody else, please, we want to hear from you if you have something to contribute. So don't be shy. This is a community board. Are there any other questions or comments for anybody at the school board? All right, well, thank you so very much. That was
Thank
really
you.
a nice presentation. This is being videotaped, or recorded rather, and it will be posted on our website. So others who miss this meeting can have access to it.
Perfect. Well, thank you. And maybe we can come back once we know exactly what's on the third bond phase.
Thank you. We would welcome that.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
Jen.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Bye, Andy. Well, that was informative. That's great. Our next speaker is Ken Allen. He is the owner of the property, the Stafford, and wants to speak to us about the housing project that he is developing on that land on McVeigh across from Lusher Farms. Ken, do you have slides or anything you want to share? The site map or?
Sure, I can do it, but if one of you has the email I sent earlier with the site plan, that would be helpful as I do an intro, but just let
Chris,
me
are
know.
you able to do that? You're muted, but I'm going to assume that was a yes. Go ahead, Ken.
Yeah, so yeah, thank you for having me. I asked the question about parking because just so everybody's real clear, I'm 100% transparent and even more. I overshare a little bit, but I think that's okay as a developer. I've been pressing the school board for over 2 years to let me install parking at my expense on their property, and they say no. So I didn't want to push it too hard, but there's an easy, free solution for them. I don't know why they don't do it, but maybe they got big designs for something there. So I just, and that's me more as a neighbor saying this, you might sense a little bit of anxiousness with that comment. I don't need it, but I'm like, wait, I'm a neighbor. I mean, I drive up that way every day and it's ridiculous. It's like there's hundreds of cars or whatever, dozens. And I have an inside track that, I shouldn't mention, but it's like, why don't they do it? I don't know. So anyway, just to get that, that's a neighbor comment before I get into the development stuff. But anyway,
Hold
if
on just a
anybody,
second. Chris, do you need
Yeah,
Ken?
I can share. I have the site plan here. I can share if you give me sharing rights.
You have sharing rights. It's all
Oh.
open share.
And Robert just
Sure.
raised.
Yeah, Chair, if I can respond to Ken's question.
yeah, please.
So Ken, I think we talked about this before, and I agree with the comments that Tony was making from LOSD, because we have been engaging with Tony. And one of the key points that he made was we want to look at this comprehensively, right? We want to look at the entire neighborhood. I think some of the feedback's been given to you by neighbors in the area that say that's sensitive, that West End is very, very sensitive. And it also triggers some planning type of policies where if on the West End it starts to open up, it provides the opportunity for a pathway for the roads to be connected out to Stafford. And that just makes the situation worse. So, we're engaging and we're trying to look at solutions, but moving the problem from one area to another and creating more isn't necessarily a great solution. And I know we've given that feedback to you in the meetings. So I was a little surprised to kind of hear it tonight that, hey, we're kind of throwing out another solution that is parking on the West End. So I think it's great that you're offering it, but I know neighbors have a lot of concern with that.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Rob. What a piece you're missing is the designs I've done for the layout connect the parking to overlook. It does not come through your neighborhood. Absolutely, and not my neighborhood. That's detrimental to both of our communities.
And Ken, I think we can take it offline, but it's the fact that that type of area there, when it starts to kind of go into that practice field on the West End, that's when it starts enabling some policies that we've had very clear discussions with planning about and neighbors have concerns with. And so, when we ask why don't they want to do it, because there's bigger problems that are opening up with that. And I think we all want to find solutions, but we don't want to shift the problem from, one area to the other, and we don't want to create even more bigger problems. So, appreciate the offer, but it's something that we're going to look at, very carefully.
Thank you both. Okay, Is this the site plan? And wow, those are a lot of changes.
Yeah, so I'm going to be brief and then open it for questions. So, but beginning February 5th, we have an upcoming community outreach, another meeting. Hope to encourage all of you and the greater community to attend so we can kind of spend an hour and a half going over our newfound design. So kind of starting from a large scale massing of 4 stories and 200 units, you know, maybe I'm overstating that, down to this plan, which is, and I'll orient you to it a little bit, but Stafford Road is on the right side of the screen. So that would be the east side. So what we're doing here is we're answering the housing needs of Lake Oswego with what is called middle housing, but it's really just, and I don't want to use the word affordable housing because it's not, nothing's really affordable much here anymore. So attainable housing, meaning we're not building, you know, 12 luxury homes. We're not even doing 24 duplexes that are still $1 million each or $1.5 million or whatever they are. We're trying to get the footprint down to get the price point down. So we're actually in this model here, you see about 34% open space with pedestrian connectivity to all directions. Including the park, to the north, you know, connecting to the Stafford retirement community. And then to kind of come in a little bit, we have on the very south side and then the east side, you'll see what look like little bodies of water, but what those are more landscape enhanced vegetated areas for our big storm, you know, events that may happen. So we have to accommodate for big rain events or whatnot that come off the site. The soil, if anybody knows about LO, it's not that great, and from a percolation standpoint, and it's not much better at this site. What we are going to do is do some mechanical devices which are under the roads and maybe pervious pavement to allow for more absorption. So these aren't, you know, bodies of water, they're vegetated areas that people can actually play in, walk in. We can't have structures in them, but they can be used 99% of the time until we have that, you know, freak massive rainstorm that kind of fills up the whole basin. But and then kind of just to finish out the site plan itself, there's kind of really just 2 types of homes here. There's 1 and 2 story cottages, which are detached. Everything's for sale, nothing's for rent here. This isn't a rental community, but the pink or salmon color to the north, closest to the Stafford, those are single story cottages. My mom already has picked one, so we're only down to, we got our first sale anyway. And then the other purple and light purple are kind of 1 and 2 story products. So the big, I'll call it a concession because I don't have another word, but I heard, and Rick's on the call, but I heard from Chris, your representative for land, and Rick representing the hamlet, that kind of protecting the view corridor coming up Stafford from the north or from the south, and maybe not as much from coming from town, but like just not looking at 3-story buildings right on the edge. And I agreed with that. And we kind of want to showcase the cottages. We kind of feel like this could be, I'm not a PR fanfare kind of guy, but you know, in our space, could this be a model for how smart development happens in the future, you know, where it's a mix of not as much square footage, so you're not maximizing that yield, but you're getting a better value for the whole site and people that live here. So I'm thinking about that myself living there. I mean, I'm happy on Green Tree, so I'm not going anywhere, but like when you design this stuff, you have to put yourself in the space. And so our design team, we brought not only our architects on board early, but our landscape architects are helping us provide this beautification. And it's not just widget designs. Those, I can do that out in Gresham or Happy Valley or somewhere, but right here, this is pretty important. So, and then to finish off, the little green squares in the middle are quadplexes and triplexes. So just trying to, again, bring down the square footage, and those could be 2-story. The code would allow for 3-story with a tuck under garage. And then to finish up, we had another pre-app conference this morning with the city of Lake Oswego, and some good progress is coming from that. Chris attended, so he might report up on that, but kind of that's it. I welcome everybody to attend the 5th, and then any questions you might have or Chris's comments.
I have a question. When you say triplex and fourplex, are you selling them as triplexes and fourplexes or as individual units?
Yeah, very good question. No, those are individual fee simple lots. So you can just buy the end unit and have 3 walls of light, or
Okay.
one design we have are 2 stories on the ends and 3-story in the middle. So, you know, it creates even better light for the interior units
Okay.
rather than all 2-story. But a question that not related to that, but parking is a big thing. So every unit has at least 1 parking, and the townhomes have 2. So the cottages are a very strict code that we're trying to figure out. Everybody in Oregon is trying to figure it out. I have 2 other projects that do middle housing, and this one's further advanced, but it's a delicate balance between open space and parking and code and setback. So, but we're cracking it. And the city, maybe Chris could comment on this, but I have been in hundreds of city meetings like we had today, and today was the first time where I actually felt like a city was on our side. And I wasn't surprised, because I've been, you know, lobbying them more as a friendly developer than anything, because I don't have to have everything we want, but they're really working with us. And I find it, you know, pretty amazing. You know, they really are working with us. And I think they want to see, and I mean they in air quotes, planning commission and city council, they want to see projects like this that are more scaled towards families and retirees. And I don't think they would say it, but just less big scale luxury.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions? Jenny?
Yes, you said it, but it didn't click for me. Where I don't see parking, is it, you said it's tucked under for the cottages and tucked under for the quadplexes? Is that how it is? I'm so sorry, I didn't quite see or
Yeah,
understand where
so-
all the parking is for each unit.
Yeah, so just real briefly, each home has its own parking, so garages. So the townhomes have 2-car garage tuck under. The cottages, we're still working through that, but they would each have at least one designated spot. And then you can see a little bit of parking around the peripheral, and then some of the street designs have parallel parking on the street. And I don't need to get into it now, but on the 5th, we can get into the minutia of that. But we're trying to get to a 2 parking per home. So there's, you know, if it's 50 or whatever this number is, there's 100 spots. And then the other thing is we want to fend off school kids parking here. Not that I'm against kids, but if we got 20 street park, you know, I don't want them plugged up with kids. So we got to figure that one out, you know.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Thank you so much, Ken. Really
All right.
appreciate your sharing this and for joining us. Chris, can you unshare, please?
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Also, can I have those plans for the post that I'm writing for him?
Yeah.
I wasn't on that email, so I didn't see those.
You bet. I'll email them to
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. Next, we have the treasurer's report. John Thies is our treasurer.
Hello, everybody. Our current balance in our Home Street bank account is $607.64. This report is essentially the same as our November statement. So we've got reimbursement requests that have been submitted during the 24-25 cycle that are roughly $400. We've got another $100 worth of pending reimbursements. Frederic just sent me another receipt that will allow us to exceed the $100 minimum for submitting reimbursement requests. I'll likely wait until the end of the 24-25 cycle to submit those because there's a $100 minimum. Our base camp is paid through 5/2025. And P&A residents are encouraged to donate to our neighborhood association. For information about projected expenses and how to donate, refer to the Get Involved, I Want to Donate page on the PalisadesNeighborhood.org website. So that's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions for our treasurer? Okay, moving on. Thank you so much, John. Really appreciate your being on top of that. We already did the approval of the meeting minutes, so we will skip to the chair report. And the things that I was going to bring up include the monthly emergency preparedness free training courses that are being held at the fire station. And we just had an one that covers ice storms, great turnout, but Rick says he's going to cover that. So I'll let it go to that. And I've gotten a whole bunch of people, not a whole bunch, but more than usual, wanting to participate and help improve our community through volunteering and joining our group. And I'm just really grateful for that, because that's what makes our community strong. And so now we're going to go into the committee reports. Can we start with you, Nancy, for parks?
Yes.
And we'll go to land use.
Yeah. Yep. So this is hot off the press. I heard from Kira with Parks and Rec today. Rasik Park, construction will begin roughly February and should finish around June. These are kind of loose dates, so it could wiggle around a little bit, but that's the playground. And she sends a big thank you to this group who helped with the grant. Lusher Farm, we are sending a land use application to Clackamas County for expanded use, but the expanded use are actually current uses. They just weren't authorized uses. So it's a very big package that they need to submit. So they're still working on it. They've been working on it for months and months. Things that expand the park use, like community gardens and trails and seating and signage. So nothing that would be unusual for all of you. So that will be submitted soon, getting close. And then they've been long range planning. So they have been working for well over a year on a long range Parks and Rec plan to cover the next 15 years. This will be presented to City Council next week on the 21st, this long range plan. Kira also offered to speak to our group if we wish about that long range plan, because I expressed interest in it. So Freddie and I were thinking we'd bring her to next month's meeting and have her share an overview of where they're headed. What do you all think of that? Yes? Okay. So we'll invite her as a guest. And then she mentioned too, while it's not related to parks, she wanted us to know that there'll be more congestion on Stafford Road past the roundabout because the county's starting to pre-plan their big project, even though they're not starting it right now. There'll be work trucks and so on in that zone. So it might affect our traffic situation from now until they actually formally begin it and block the road. And I don't recall when that, I don't have in my notes when that is, but anyway, there's pre-planning that might snarl up traffic. So just FYI on that.
Oh my goodness. And with Ken projects too, like we have the pool, Ken, the receipt.
Right,
Might be
exactly.
a lot on that street.
So that's all I have, unless you all have questions.
Okay,
Yeah.
on to Chris. Oh, sorry,
I'm all
Nancy.
set. Thank you.
Thank you for that thorough report. And if there's anything that you think the neighborhood at large should know more about that's not already on the city website, feel free to email it to Carrie and she'll create a post. Chris Sturkey, yeah, right, Carrie?
Yeah, I saw the information in Basecamp that she
Oh,
posted.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a general comment to all the different committees. It's great to hear it here, but sometimes people look for it later or don't know. So if it pops up on the website, just another vehicle to share the news. Chris Sturkey, land
Hi,
use.
thanks. I'm going to go really fast because there are a lot of other really important issues we need to get to tonight. But land use has been really busy. We had 4 pre-apps in just the last couple of weeks. One of them was for Ken's project to redefine the protected land in the southwest corner of the site. It was last defined before the Stafford Retirement Center was built. So since it was built, the drainage and flow in Pecan Creek has changed. So at any rate, that's now a formal application to the city, and the city's going to review it and make a decision, yes or no. A few other pre-apps, but they're really inconsequential. There was a pre-app today that Ken mentioned on his project, and the city really was, in the past, sometimes you get the feeling that they wouldn't throw you a lifeline if you needed it unless you specified the diameter of the line and what type of fiber it had to be made out of. But today they were really, the city was great. Evan was great, and it was a much more collaborative process. It was encouraging. I think Ken's project has moved tremendously from what he started with a year and a half ago. I know there's still concerns with where he is. Obviously, we're adding 54 units to an area where there aren't any, but by right, he can proceed. So at any rate, I think design-wise, it's been a huge improvement. A couple issues that I brought up on behalf of the neighborhood are, I know he's reduced the density along Stafford, but I'd like them to look even harder at that. Maybe put some 1-story units on Stafford and move some of the 2-story units back to the northwest corner. The other is, which I need to dig into the code myself, but he's showing the stormwater retention basins as the same land as the courtyards for the cottage clusters. Those were the 2 little blue ponds that he showed on the site. And they're saying, well, they can landscape them. They'll be really nice and usable. But I have stormwater retention basins in my front yard. They're not usable. And in the rain, they're filled with water. And, you send kids out to play in the mud. So I'm still going to challenge that. And maybe they can figure out some way to put some of that underground and really make it a courtyard, not a stormwater retention basin. Yeah.
We are reaching our 1-hour time.
Oh, sorry.
And the meeting is going to go over as it is, just a little bit. So I just want to respectfully ask you.
Okay. Yep. So sorry. So that's it for land use. If you have questions or more, come to the meeting on the 5th, or feel free to email me. And then, did you want me to give the South Shore Fire Station report now or later?
Why don't we wait till later? So those who need to sign off, can do so. I'm gonna skip here a little bit. Jenny, I'm gathering you don't have anything more for the school, anything else to share school related. Okay, great. Not great, but thank you. Just because we're running short on time, just know that spot's always open for you. We have emergency preparedness, and an exciting announcement. Take it away, Rick.
Okay, first of all, on December 7th, at the South Shore Fire Station, there was the preparation for ice storms in our area, and the fire department brought in 2 speakers. One was a student from Lake Oswego High School that has developed a CERT course for high school students that can get credit for taking the class, which was pretty cool. Now they need to get that same program at Lake Ridge High School. Second, the second person speaking, her name was Kayla Thompson, and she's the Community Preparedness Coordinator for the Oregon Department of Emergency Management, and she is the key person for the B2 Week Ready program. She's the one that is pushing it out across the state. She's the key person. She talked over the whole 2 Week Ready program, kind of filled in a lot of details and stuff, and answered questions of the people that were at the fire station. And it was, again, 20 were in attendance. It was a good turnout. It was a horrible, cold, rainy day, so we were very happy to have those people show up. My last thing is, if Andrew wants to jump online, I'd like to introduce Andrew Watson, who could potentially be our next emergency preparedness coordinator. And maybe he can take a minute and just kind of talk about himself. So that's it.
Let me be very brief. I know there's not much time, but glad to see you all tonight. I live in the Green Tree Circle area. You probably drive past my house once or twice a day, I'm sure. So I come from more of a response background. I'm a certified, a state certified communications unit leader. So that means that I am, I can be pulled out to wildfires or any other hazard that might occur around here to provide communication systems for the responding agencies. Rick's done a great job on the preparedness side, but you know, the whole world of emergency planning is a bit more complex. There's a lot of things that go on that need doing when an event happens, and that's certainly where I can add some initial value. And but preparedness is very much the key to getting to that point. So I'll be looking at the whole plan from prevention through mitigation, response, and recovery over the next few weeks. I'm very glad to be here, and if you need anything that relates to particularly response or recovery, just feel free to ping me. I'm currently working on the county's emergency operations plan right now. We've just shifted into a new phase and hope to have that out in about a year's time. It has to be done every 4 years, and I'm fortunate to be a member of the core team that's currently working on that. So pleased to be here.
Thank you so much. It just always amazes me how much, what a wealth of people with excellent training and community leadership, community involvement. So thank you. We're glad to have you and really appreciate it. Next on the agenda is traffic and pathways. Rob Heap, you had a report you wanted to share.
Oh, sure, I can share. Thanks, Chair. Hopefully everybody can see this, so I'll keep it short. So tonight we were able to meet Tony Vandenberg. So last time I met with him was on November 22nd, and I think he just kind of backed up some of the discussions that we had. You know, he said that there's been discussions with the city, and we're really looking at a comprehensive plan. I know there's been lots of suggestions in the neighborhood about, you know, what are some options. But, you know, I told Tony I really appreciate looking at the entire neighborhood from Palisades, getting everybody's input, and trying to make sure we make the best plan possible. So he talked a little bit about kind of the land that people have been suggesting to open up for parking. And I briefly touched on some of those concerns that neighbors have brought up. So he said we're going to have a next meeting, but that hasn't been announced yet. So we're waiting on that. And then the other updates I want to just give is the rec center. Folks may have noticed that actually the pathway on the west side of Stafford Road is now open. So they completed that. That's fantastic. So pedestrians and bicyclists don't have to go across Stafford and along the east side. The pathway is back open as of today. So that's good news. And the other thing is, I got feedback from the park staff, Bruce Powers, that they've included 12 EV chargers. So I just wanted to mention, I think that's great for the neighborhood. You know, we have DC fast chargers that exist in at Bank of America and at the Palisades market. So from a neighborhood, this is a great spot where you can go and you know, have a low cost option to charge your card. So for a neighborhood type of option, I think it's great. So I gave them that feedback that we're happy on that. And then this was posted on Teams so people can look at it. It's just going back to the original parking assumptions. So the parking, sorry, is down at the bottom, but this one's about peak traffic and kind of what they were projecting. And so it talks about some key areas, such as the traffic impact along Overlook, the traffic impact down near the roundabout, and traffic impact at like Meadowlark, Treetop. So it's kind of interesting to see that. And then the parking numbers are there too. So I looked at that and looked, you know, fairly reasonable from what they proposed. And then I also included from Bruce Powers kind of the site level plan that shows the parking spaces and the EV charger locations. The EV chargers are going to have support for 12, and then it can expand to 32. So I think that was it from. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to say. I missed it from the report. Was regarding the approved improvements that are at Childs and Stafford. So my best understanding is that construction is going to start this spring and it'll go through the winter of 2026 is the projection right now. So yeah, people were mentioning all the projects along Stafford Road. That's yet another one at the ones at the Child Stafford roundabout should start this spring.
Robert, it sounded like Tony leaked that the swimming place is not going to open till the spring because everyone keeps saying the winter. Did you hear anything about when it's opening up?
Yeah, I have not heard, but I think it's probably trending more towards the spring, like what you're
April.
saying.
April is the
Yeah.
last thing I heard, but
Yeah, April is
Okay.
what I heard too.
We're in
Yeah, there's
sounds
still a
like
lot
we're-
of dirt around there, so.
Yeah, we're gonna be in a couple years at least, or I don't know how long, but the traffic's gonna be even worse than usual, unfortunately. I don't know. But we have Rob Heap on top of it, and if there's anything we can do as a neighborhood association, Rob will lead us.
can Rick Cook say something about what he just posted?
Sure.
I was gonna do that during citizen comments or when you finish your stuff, or I could do it now, whatever you want.
Just real quick, because I don't want to hold people too long.
Okay, I can do it in a minute. Two things. We just got a message from Corey Buchanan, the reporter and assistant editor of the Review and the Tidings, that Senator Rob Meek from Oregon City, Gladstone, and Happy Valley has put in a pre-session bill number 592 to LCDC, the Lands Conservation and Development Commission, to study putting a city in Stafford Triangle. Just found out about it Tuesday, and I can't give you any information. We have lots of rumors kind of floating around, but it's pretty amazing that he never talked to anybody from the Stafford area other than maybe some of the land speculators. The other piece was that the county has put in a request for $1.2 million, $200,000 coming from lottery for an industrial study. This is county-wide and looking, okay, where do we need, what are our options and stuff. Stafford is part of the second, it's the $1 million that grant that Metro has to look at it. The city of Lake Oswego actually is opposed to having Stafford part of that. The Stafford Hamlet is against being part. Stafford Hamlet has been studied till the cows come home, and it's currently in 2018 it was $2.7 billion for infrastructure out here. So they're going to study us again and say, yeah, here we go. And the last tidbit is on Friday the 24th, the lawsuit from David Marks against Metro, Clackamas County, and the 3 cities on the Stafford 3-party and 5-party IGAs will hopefully be decided. So that's something else coming down the chute for you. So nothing much going on in the area, and the and the traffic at Stafford right now, they're running the fiber optic line first. They're going to do the gas line, and then the rest of the fun's going to happen. So my whole thought is that maybe people will realize, let's not go into Stafford because it's going to be a mess for the next 5 years.
Mhm.
So maybe that'll cut down on our traffic.
Thank you, Rick. Carrie, would you like to share what's been happening with the newsletter, the website, you wear so many hats. Please share.
I'm just going to keep it really brief, mostly just first to Andrew, how did you find us in your emergency? How did you find out about?
I saw the newsletter, so
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, perfect segue. So yeah, the newsletter has been going out. We've done, we keep redesigning, adding more things. The volunteer page was redesigned in the last couple of months. We've started focusing on talking about that in the newsletter. So thank you, Andrew, for seeing that. We just have really great click-throughs. I will also say that Chris Durkee's updates for the South Shore Fire Department Task Force has been getting a lot of eyeballs on our site. If you need anybody like to have a more broad update on that, he's done like 3 to 4 sessions. Every time we meet, he does a recap. Great content on our website. Go check it out. But yeah, we're getting, like in really insane numbers. It's like 79% click through. So, and it's all over a mix of like information, like what's happening, really happening in that needs eyeballs, but also pet of the month, woo, and like information about us as like board members. The profiles we're writing are getting a lot of click throughs, and so it's a good mix of really good information for our neighborhood and what's happening in land use, parks, so on, as well as fun things too. So yeah, and I think, Frederic, like one thing to do for you and I and some other people is just like when something comes in, like who's going to post it? Is it, just prioritizing who's writing the blogs? I can do them in 5 minutes if I'm at my desk. So that's
We'll
something
talk
for you
about
and
that
I.
offline.
I
yeah.
understand. In the future, we just need to make sure that we understand that. And that's, base camp seems like everybody's doing well in. So that's it.
Does anybody have questions for Carrie?
Who's the next pet of the month?
I'm never going to tell you who's coming, John.
Okay.
You'll have to just
curious.
wait. You'll have to just wait.
I'm waiting for someone to say they want me to cover their parrot. I'm so many
Do
times.
you have an animal? If anybody on the call or anybody in the neighborhood has a pet they want to have featured, contact us and Carrie will do it.
I'm the one.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you so much. It's the website, the newsletter has become even more invaluable to share our news, and Carrie has done such a wonderful spin of making it a little more fun and friendly rather than just the facts, which is how it was when I was running it. So I also want to introduce David Westerdahl, since he Carrie, David is, you and I have talked, Area 12, and is interested in possibly being a rep. We haven't met yet, but since he's on the call, you can ask him, I can ask him, how did you hear about the volunteer position?
The newsletter, of course. Hi. It's a very, very attractive email. And so I had to open it up and scroll to the bottom and click on some things. So thank you for, making that very attractive to the reader. So clickbait, so to speak, maybe.
All of our board, thank you, David. All of our board members work hard, but Carrie is like a rock star right now and just putting in so many hours. And so, it's great to have encouragement, but, and that it has reaped such wonderful feedback. Okay. I know I try to keep it to an hour because everybody's time is valuable. And is there anybody I've missed? Chuck, you haven't, Robert Longcore, if you're on the call still. Anybody have, Elisa, so wonderful to see you. Just know that,
South
Oh,
Shore Task Force?
yes, Chris wanted to say, sorry, you wanted to finish talking.
Sorry, rather than give a full update on the task force, it's moving ahead really well. Carrie's on the task force also, by the way, and a great asset to it. And Carrie, I get so many comments from other neighborhoods on the website and the newsletter. You guys are really, really knocking this out of the park. And so rather than update, the most current written update is on the website. And I'm presenting to the NCC meeting, the Neighborhood Chairs Committee meeting Saturday, PowerPoint. And so when that PowerPoint is done, I'll send that to Carrie. If you could post that on those slides, that gives a much more detailed update than I would give right now.
Thank you, everyone. And I will say goodnight. And if Andrew and David have 3 minutes to give me feedback on the meeting, that would be lovely.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, and Rick, you're always welcome. Whoever wants to give me feedback is great. We're always trying to improve, get more neighbors involved, make it more interesting, less dry. Any comments? Please let me know how you felt.
Well, first time for me joining the Zoom, and I have to say, I feel like it's very well organized. I feel like you cover a lot of topics that are very important to the community in a really brief period of time. So I've definitely learned quite a few things this evening, especially related to development along Stafford, of course, the parking issues at Lake Ridge. It's interesting to learn about the bonds and how those tax rates per assessed value affect us and what's looking to be, extended potentially or renewed. So I found the meeting to be very beneficial. Having lived here since 2018, always having questions about some of these things, that I feel like this is a great meeting to get answers to this question.
I'm so glad that you joined us. And yeah, if it seems appropriate, let your neighbors know, we're for everyone.
And I like the fact that everybody was very open and polite and friendly. And I think this is a great forum for sharing information and getting together and just explaining what's happening in our neighborhood. I think it's very organic, and sometimes that's good. It doesn't need a lot of structure, but I think it's structured enough to convey the information as efficiently as possible. So yeah, great job.
Well, I've actually tried to, this is me being loose, believe me.
So
Trying to make
Frederic,
it more, yes.
Frederic, I appreciate you being kind of the traffic cop, the policeman here, and when the run-ons get going, you put a stop to it. I think that everybody appreciates that, everybody's time's valuable. So thank you for that.
It's hard to do and not seem like a biatch, but yeah. And then I think, an extra 5 minutes won't hurt, but yes, sticking to the facts. Rick, Rick Cook, I'm sorry we couldn't give, actually, there was a number of people who could have shared even more. So sound bites, and then we can, feel free to send me, as always, things to post on the website, and we can get the word out, or a link to your website where the information is.
And I appreciate it. And I just wanted to hang around to say thank you. You run a great meeting, and our meetings, with not only the CPO, I think we combine them so it goes like from 7 to 9 o'clock. So I appreciate what you guys do, and just the relationship that we have going in the past 5 years has been wonderful. And this whole thing just hit us, the fact that they're even thinking about at the state level making a city out of the Stafford Triangle we were floored. So, you know, I talked with Joe Buck and everybody, and even our representatives didn't even know about the bill. So that was the scary part. And it's
Because
like,
we don't
wow.
have enough traffic problems. Not to mention, I don't want your land taken over, but I'm just saying, where does
Yeah.
this make sense? And do they have the legal right? But I don't want to get into it.
Yeah, it's, well, and hopefully this is just something that this guy had to pay, you know, those political
Yeah.
favors and say, okay, I put the bill out there, but nobody's going for it. And I was shocked that even Senator Wagner didn't know about it. That's what really floored me. So-
Andrew and David, this is one of the reasons that area reps and the Palisades Neighborhood Association board is so important and has picked up so much steam, was because the city and is not listening to neighbors. They're not listening to the people who pay their wages and pay the taxes, but they have started to listen since we have respectfully communicated with them that we want more dialogue, we want more input. And I've seen it firsthand when even just 20 neighbors show up at city council meeting. They're like, whoa, you guys are taking this seriously. And it's made a big difference. So I want to grow that and I want it to be a win-win, but the city has really run amok on the Palisades neighborhood and without our input. And so it's just good to support them when it's the right thing, and it's good to enlighten them through the proper and respectful channels when it's not cool.
And it's good to partner with you to have, when you have issues with the county and we have issues with the city, to work, because we are unincorporated Clackamas County. I don't know if Andrew knows that we're outside the city limits, so we don't have, other than we pay, some pay school bond, or well, pay for school district things, but other than that, we don't pay city taxes. So that partnership has been wonderful. So we appreciate it.
All right. Is there anything anybody else wants to contribute before we sign off? All right. Thank you all. Appreciate your time. And David, we'll see each other soon. We've got a meeting. Yeah. Okay, cool. Good night, all.